A great country is like low land. It is the meeting ground of the universe, the mother of the universe. Hello, welcome back to another Tao Te Ching reading. We are doing number 61 today. I am Mark,
Madam.
and let's get going. Number 61. A great country is like low land. It is the meeting ground of the universe, the mother of the universe. The female overcomes the male with stillness, lying low in stillness. Therefore, if a great country gives way to a smaller country, it will conquer the smaller country. If a small country submits to a great country, it can conquer the great country. Therefore, those who would conquer must yield, and those who conquer do so because they yield. A great nation needs more people. A small country needs to serve. Each gets what it wants. It is fitting for a great nation to yield.
Hmm.
I feel like this one's kind of, in a lot of ways, the epitome or the essence of what the Tao Te Ching alludes to with the concept of yielding. Talk
Hmm.
about this a lot. Talk about water and its ability to yield to things. But it's interesting how they're bringing the whole country nation aspect into it. What do you think?
Yeah, it is interesting. Um, and I'm like trying to like kind of I find myself wanting to make it more about like bring it to the individual or personal level than like the leader of a country. But it is interesting this idea of like finding a mutual benefit beneficial exchange and how that's like the ultimate power is kind of what
Mm,
I'm also because like yeah, they're using the term like yield. But to me, I feel like yield is like instead of it being like oh my like sort of like the like 10 like this idea of instead of my way or the highway, it's there's more power in finding a mutually beneficial way to exchange where the greater gets something, the lesser gets something. Both are
mhm.
getting something, and how there's something lost when the one who's mightier tries to just sort of like take over, like you don't actually benefit truly. At least that's kind
It's,
of the
it's
feel
that
I'm getting.
difference between leading and conquering, right? Or
Yeah.
leading and dominating. Is that difference
Yes.
there? We explored that in number 10, where
Yes.
to lead is not necessarily to dominate, right? To lead is to help, to serve, right? But the smaller country may need some of the resources that the bigger country can provide, but the bigger country is not a country without people. So, like you
Mhm.
said, it's this mutually beneficial balance of people coming together under some sort of banner that we call country or nation, but ultimately it's humanity, right? Helping each other out, serving each other, serving the land, and not fighting over that. The territorial concept is what's created pretty much every war that we know of.
Yeah.
So that's a ridiculous concept that still plays out to today. This
Yeah.
what's mine, what's yours, and hey, it's all here for us all to share. We have things you need, you have things we need. Let's find that balance and work together. Sounds
Amen.
so simple, but I guess not these days, or
Well,
even these days when this was written. Because this is thousands of years old and still trying to teach leaders how to act nobly and properly because they lost their way already thousands of years ago.
yeah. Yeah, I think this also brings to mind like scarcity too, and like how it says like a great nation is like sort of like this thing that can contain, that can hold a lot, right? Like that it's more of like a more feminine in nature, more of a receptacle of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a very different conceptualization than like artificial scarcity, which is what a lot of countries and leaders do, which is like, no, we can't take more people because we don't have enough. And it's like, oh, really? Or it kind of this question of like, well, how is this shared? Like what? Like I think it used that image, or maybe it's the Mitchell one that I was looking at, but it talks about like water like collecting in a
Mm-hmm.
pool
into a
where
chalice.
yeah, and so like that's a very different thing where it's, getting to this point of like where we can actually have the shared space, and great leadership understands how to share space, but the sort of flip side is just the, like you said, the taking, the not knowing how to share space, the sort of seeing scarcity where there's actually abundance.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, and think about how many of the great nations and empires were built, whereas the castle or the dynasty tower or whatever on the top of the hill,
Yeah.
looking down at its subjects,
Yeah,
which
very
is
different.
very domineering,
Yep.
right? In perspective, looking down upon my people, whereas
Yeah.
a great nation or great leader should be looking up to the people, saying, I'm looking up to you to show me what really needs to be done. So I'm that natural born leader. I can figure things out, I can analyze things, I can strategize, but I need your input. So the leader should be looking up to the people, not down on the people. But
Mhm.
we see all these towers and castles up on the hill, and that's how things were built. But like it said in the very first line, a great country is like low land. It's the meeting ground of the universe. And to lead with that feminine energy, like what you were saying,
Yeah.
that less
Yeah.
domineering, masculine, do, go,
Yeah.
conquer, 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 versus nurture, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think also like the sort of transcendence immanence is coming up for me, like, how some of the more like masculine patriarchal type religious systems and belief systems are tend to be much more focused on like transcendence, like the divine is transcendent, it's beyond, it's above.
Up, yeah.
Whereas other traditions are more like kind of look more, or at least are held them more in balance with immanence, with like the divine is in, it's down, it's come down, and it's like a soul incarnating into a body, like it's got to come down,
Mm,
and that's part of this. And I feel like, yeah, that valley metaphor is helping us realize that, like, yeah, like it isn't just up here, like it's coming down, and that's where the power is. I think about like Christian teachings too, where they say like remember the poor, and I remember speaking to some parishioners, when I was going to this church, that like I feel like that's not just like so that we can help and be saviors or something, like I think a lot of people think, but it's because
mm,
that's where God lives. Like he lives, God lives with the poor, like, and so like that's where you find divinity
the
often, is
humble,
is
the
is
humble.
humble, humility is imminent, is it's contained in everything. And I feel like that is sometimes lost in some of these other systems, and it feels like the Tao Te Ching is like really this nice corrective to some of those strains of thought that I feel
Mm,
like are pretty prominent in the West, at least.
yeah, nice. Well, we'd love to hear what you think, if this resonates, or if you have another interpretation, love to hear it. Pop it in the comments. And thank you very much. See you next time.